Hey everybody, this is Perch. We're winding toward the end of the year. It's kind of crazy that we're getting that this is happening. But anyway, okay, we got a long mail here, so we'll go through it. But this is a comment about the lore video rebuttal. It's evolution, not revolution. All right, it says, hey Perch, just listen to your whole video, not just first 10 seconds. Thank you, on why do people get upset when the lore is changed, and while you offer a solid hypothesis that old stories are more acceptable to change than comics, which are ongoing, so not really finished, it does not hold up to scrutiny. Okay, let's see. Example number one, Rings of Power. I disagree immediately. Anyway, we'll get into your reasoning. So this is not ongoing lore. Mr. Tolkien is dead, and no one is continuing in real sense his word. I disagree, but let's see what you say. But fans rejected the changes made by Rings of Power beyond just race swaps. The biggest one was, in comic terms, taking a character who was like Zatanna and giving her the personality of Hawkgirl. Actually, Hawkman is even closer. People wanting to see Galadriel did not want a character with her name that they did not recognize. Fans did not want to find out that Sauron became the evil overlord because he was an incel rejected by the strong, powerful main character woman. I agree, but I also say that's bad storytelling. That's fundamentally bad storytelling. Whether it's new lore, old lore, nobody wants to see that shit. The fact they changed the character actually was, in my mind, lesser than the fact that the entire story and the premise and all the rest of that stuff didn't make any sense, wasn't enjoyable to watch, and overall sucked. And while Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings, epic, what Mr. Tolkien did, is not an ongoing story, there have been a lot of movies, the entire kind of popularization of the story means it has been kept in the public mind. And it's kind of like that Little Mermaid effect where, the Little Mermaid is an old story, but Disney does this super, super popular cartoon movie and then keeps the movie in people's heads with toys and merchandise and all this other shit. Even though the story hadn't changed, they basically baked in a view of the characters. So when they come and they try and do a new one, it's breaking what feels like an ongoing perception of the character. And I would argue Lord of the Rings is the same. But anyway, I think we got to. Okay, the mail continues. This leads me to your point on Hawkman in Black Adam. Yes, they re-swapped the character, but what they didn't change is who Carter is. He was every bit the in-your-face, the first option is always to fight character from the comics. Where I even give them credit is that they did not inject politics and come up with some political backstory for why he was this way, i.e. racism, too many student loans for those archaeology degrees. Goddamn student loans for my archaeology degree. Anyway, Carter was Carter. Skin color is different, but totally irrelevant because we could see the character we knew. So I think this demonstrates that minor changes is okay to the fans if you're staying true to the lore. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I don't. Some people speculate. It's like, well, nobody complained because Hawkman is reincarnated. And while it's a true point, I think your observation is better, which is basically, look, the personality, or I could even say it a different way, the story was true, and it was a good story, and people liked it, and therefore it worked. So, anyway. However, that same level of acceptance of a minor change is not shared by those with a social agenda. Okay, I don't quite get that comment, but all right. Example number two, using race as with Hawkman, the gods of Egypt. Under your theory, the movie should have been more readily accepted because it is just a new take on a very, very old stories. I don't know. To my knowledge, and I will happily accept being wrong if you have an example, but I do not recall anyone associated with the movie saying Jaime Lannister was cast as a god of Egypt because the studio and director was seeking blonde equity in the Egyptian pantheon. Well, of course, nobody would say such a thing. Those with a social agenda lost their minds over the casting in the movie. Yeah, because they're dicks. Race change, even though they portrayed the powers and dominion of the very gods correctly, was totally unacceptable. It was a mediocre movie, but that still makes the point. Actually, that makes the point more than anything, quite frankly. It was a mediocre movie. There was no plot to dig into. There was no story anyone gave a shit about. And so, who's going to go to the mat defending this thing? Anyway, not sure if there are any Egyptian god fanboys out there or not. They're not complaining, identified themselves in that way. In contrast to your theorem, I would offer that the lore creates an emotional connection between the readers in case of comics and the characters, but they will accept evolution but not revolution. Okay. I mean, sure. I think they'll accept evolution if there's a good story. I think they'll, accept revolution if it's a good story. I think if the story sucks, they'll accept neither. But that's just my point of view. Example number 3. All right, there's how many examples do we have? Okay. Example number 3. It's a nice long mail. Tony Stark has decades of comic history that showed his intelligence by not only creating the Iron Man suits, but through the many, many times the story depended on him inventing something and using it to stop massive loss of life, a world-ending cataclysm, etc. This is established lore that dedicated readers get behind. Creating a new character like Riri Williams, or in the movies, the introduction of Shuri, and telling the audience that these people they have never heard of are smarter and better in every way than Tony creates a cognitive dissonance in the lore they knew. I disagree with this, but let's get a little further. Note, lore is not closed-minded. Discussing who is a better inventor, Tony or Reed Richards, is a great debatable question, as both have lots of examples to draw upon, and fans have fun with these things like that. The debate between Tony and Riri comes down to Riri is smarter because Bendis said so. Fuck Bendis. Okay, so where I disagree with this a little bit is it's not that it's disrupting the lore. It's that it's lazy. If you say, Riri Williams is awesome. Why? Because she's even smarter than Tony. And guess what? Luanella, the Moon Girl, is even smarter than Reed. So she's even the smartest one there is. When they went forward with that, look, nobody picks up a comic. Fucking nobody. Because the character is smartest, including Reed. Nobody's picking up the Fantastic Four going, God damn it, I got to have the comic with the smartest character in the Marvel Universe. Said nobody ever. It's ridiculous. Nobody is buying Iron Man because Tony Stark is smart. They're buying Iron Man because the story is good and because Tony does use his intelligence that's baked into his character to invent things, get out of situations. That's the exciting part. There's no excitement in the comic announcing to you right out the gate that, well, this character is smarter than Tony, so therefore, we don't have to show you the work of actually inventing doing things because this character is just smarter. No, that just sounds smug and arrogant. It doesn't sound like a story. It doesn't sound like anything of any value. It just sounds like I don't know what the fuck it sounds like. It would be the same if it's like this character is handsomer, this character is sexier, this character is stronger, this character you can't just announce things like that, whatever their race is, because it's stupid. And it's not that it breaks the lore, it's just it's lazy. You know what? People would absolutely have accepted Riri being smarter than Tony if there was a storyline or an arc where they were both in a bad situation and Tony couldn't figure out how to get out of it and Riri could. People would go for that. It could be done. But if your argument is simply, hey, trust me, bro, she's smarter, that's going to fail. So, it's not about the lore. It's about you got to put in the work. If you put in the work to show how this Moon Girl character is actually smarter and cleverer than Reed, that could be a really kick-ass story if you put in the work to tell the story. If you just announce it to people, nobody will go with it. It will fail, and it has failed. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a comic that has done pretty well with kids. The fact that she's smarter than Reed Richards is irrelevant. First of all, the majority of kids buying that, like through Scholastic, have no idea who Reed Richards is. And quite frankly, don't care. They like the story because it's a kid with a dinosaur. That's the fun part. How smart, and she's clever. That's nice. The fact that she's more clever than other characters in Marvel, again, who cares? The kids certainly don't. Your buying audience absolutely doesn't. That's just how it is. Anyway, we can kind of continue some of this. It says lore in this sense is not restricted to just comics and books and such. I could just as easily write articles that say I'm a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, and I could hire people to walk around and say how wonderful and amazing I am, but I do not have decades of proof backing any of that up. So football fans are not likely to accept any of my changes to what they know. Okay, so we agree. There you go. I dare say laughter and outright mockery would result, and not because all football fans secretly hate old fat guys. Well, that sounds bad. You're talking bad about yourself. Hey, well, I don't know. Maybe that's kind of what I'm reading, or maybe you're talking about me. I'm older, but not fat. If Gladriel had been portrayed as strategic thinking, emotionally controlled wizard with thousands of years of life experience, not always an angry sword swinger in her hunt for Sauron, more the fans would have been accepting. I think that show was baked into dislike early. I don't know it would have mattered, but your point is taken. Give us an evolution, not a revolution. Okay, sure. Take that concept and apply it across the many of underlying issues you speak on your channel. Iceman is gay in 6 panels. Yep. Northstar is gay or Harley Quinn is bi. Accepted. Evolution. Sort of. I mean, that Northstar gay story is pretty oof. I did a review of that on my channel. Check it out. That story does not age well. The memory of that story is more pleasing in people's heads to the actual story. John Kent goes from 12 to 19 or in 3 or so issues, rejected. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd go to 12-ish to 20s over decades, accepted. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But the common thread, I get your revolution, evolution kind of idea, and it's not bad, but another way you could say it is just they put in the work. They put in the work to tell the story, and so it checks out. Yes, writers only get 6 issues nowadays, so they will complain they don't have time for evolution. Too bad. If I take a 2-week cruise, I want the entire cruise. I don't want just 3 hours out and back because some guy or gal steering the boat goes off duty after that. Cruise company is who I am paying for in the 2-week service. Same thing with comics, movies, etc. Thoughts? Well, I gave the thoughts throughout the video, so we won't go too much into it. But I like the theory. I want to read it, here for other people to kind of accept, digest, think about. But I think it's a good idea. Good theory, good concepts. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's work. If you put in the work, it generally goes better. Not all the time. Definitely some people reject it, but your odds of it working increase dramatically. And I think that's really the key here and hopefully what people are aiming for. Anyway, let me know what you think of my theories, the Mail Writer series, and just let me know what you think in the comments below. And thanks for listening.